Live. Do it live. Do it live. Hello. Hello. Let me get framed up. Gonna do it live. So it is Friday the 13th. Holy smokes. Are you a believer in those superstitions? The Friday poll question, it had to be. Do you favor or oppose Israel's attack against Iran? Do you favor or oppose Israel's attack against Iran? Thank you to my friends at the Play Gun Lake online casino and sportsbook app. You can live bet while you watch all the action. There's so much to choose from. Detroit baseball is rolling along. You've got the golf tour. They're in Oakmont. Oakmont, you know what tournament I'm talking about. This is an exciting weekend. And you've got the hockey action and you've got the hoops action. It's just a wonderful time of year. Live bet it all. And whether Detroit baseball wins or loses or any of your other favorite teams, there's always another way for you to win on the Play Gun Lake Sportsbook and online casino app. The new hot online slots. They include the Big Easy, Panda Queen, Rakin' Bacon Odyssey. Aren't you curious just to see what Rakin' Bacon Odyssey is all about? I was, and then I checked it out. It's the only sports betting and online casino app that I ever use and recommend for sports and all the daily action in the great state of Michigan. Please check it out. New users, join me right now. Get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. That's got to be wagered. Go to playgunlake.com, download the app right now. Enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino right at your fingertips. You've got to be 21 and in Michigan for the Play Gun Lake online casino and sportsbook app. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Huge results yesterday, the Thursday poll question at smerconish.com. I mean, for a Thursday, we were just a tick under 40,000 votes. What drew all the interest? This question: what is most to blame for the escalation of immigration-related protests? Your choices were the media, the president, and the protesters themselves. 39,452 cast ballot. 80.58% said the president, followed by 11.12% who said the protesters. 8.3% said it's the media. I was in the category of the media. I knew I'd be in a minority. I knew the president would, quote unquote, win this election. I'm still not sure that's the right answer, which is not me embracing his tactics. But I think that there was a contagion here, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens tomorrow, because the protests that are planned nationwide tomorrow, the No More King protests, coincide, deliberately so, with the Army 250th celebration and the parade, as well as the president's 79th birthday. And of course, none of us think there's any coincidence in any of that. There's a story. It's such a busy news day. It is such a busy news day, but there is a story in the smerconish.com newsletter today that raises the possibility that that parade is put off. And the speculation is that the weather forecast is a little bit iffy, but that there are concerns as to how many people are going to show up for it. Reminiscent of what? Reminiscent of the inauguration. Remember, it was going to be so cold. And they moved inside, and then all of a sudden it was like, I'm not going to say unseasonably warm. It wasn't. But January 20 was not the day that we were told it might be when the president decided he was going to be sworn in indoors. The Friday poll question, today's Friday poll question on this 13th of June, Friday the 13th. Do you favor or oppose Israel's attack against Iran? Do you favor or oppose Israel's attack against Iran? Yesterday, post radio, I had my normal, countdown, midday Thursday CNN prep call. We do them every Thursday, every Friday. We used to do them every Wednesday. We used to do them Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But in the age of Trump, nothing we talked about on Wednesday ever stood up by Saturday. So we okay, we're all going to be read in, but let's not talk until Thursday. So we had the call yesterday in terms of what are we looking forward to doing on Friday. I have been at work for several days based on conversations on POTUS and based on my outside reading and discussion beyond the radio program. But I have been intent on preparing and delivering a commentary about the necessity of having a path to citizenship for the 10 million plus who are here illegally or not right with the law. I'm really excited about it. And in addition to wanting to talk about immigration generally and the need for a path to citizenship, the protests scheduled all around the country tomorrow against the backdrop of what's going on in LA, the Army parade, the president's birthday. I thought, well, that'll be a segment as well. So let's talk immigration and path to citizenship. Let's do a segment on the parade and birthday celebration, and maybe we'll talk about the lone survivor from that Air India crash. I had an epiphany yesterday in remembering that Ben Sherwood, who once ran Disney, who once ran ABC News, has been a several-time radio guest of mine talking about a book called The Survivor Club or Survivors Club that he wrote in 2010 about why in a catastrophe some live and some die. And Ben will be on today's radio show. I'm really psyched about that. It's amazing because in the book that he wrote in 2010, yeah, I'm doing the weave, okay? I'm doing the weave. Don't worry, I'll come back to the poll question. But in the book that he wrote in 2010, he had, I think there were 6 rules for how you survive a plane crash. And you're going to find it remarkable how many of them apply to the guy who survived that crash. I mean, it's unbelievable. When I saw the footage of him walking down the street, despite the fact that he was bloodied up, I'll be honest, I thought it was a hoax. I thought it was a hoax. Like AI, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Anyway, so just thinking about the CNN show, it's path to citizenship, and it's also the Saturday protests. It's the airplane crash. I pay attention to the metrics. The interest in the airplane crash and that sole survivor are off the chart. And then there comes the situation of Israel and Iran. And I said to the CNN team, well, we've got to keep our eye on Israel and Iran because the U.S. had just pulled certain diplomatic personnel out of Iran. And I thought, well, that's a serious sign. That's a tell. So we soft booked Admiral Stavridis and David Sanger from the New York Times. And I made clear, Corinna is our exceptional booker. And I'm like, Corinna, please, I respect each of them. Let them know this is unlikely. But if we need you, we want to be able to come to you on Saturday morning. Okay, you know where this is all going now. I have to tell you this. Post-meeting, I now send another email to my CNN team. And I say, gang, I don't think we're going to have to do Israel and Iran, because it occurs to me there's a diplomatic meeting. Steve Witkoff is scheduled to have a meeting on Sunday with the Iranians. I can't imagine that Israel would launch a strike against Iran with the prospect of a diplomatic solution and run the risk of alienating the United States. You know the rest of the story, how this all ended up, right? One other fact, though. Alexander Ward is reporting for the Wall Street Journal that on Monday, Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump had a conversation, and Trump said he wants diplomacy to run its course before turning to any military options. So the combination of all of these factors caused me to think it's unlikely pre-Sunday there's going to be an Israeli strike against Iran. Lo and behold, now it's like dinner time. 6:30, 7 o'clock, maybe a little bit later. And one of our sons, the son who just graduated from law school, the son who previously obtained a master's degree in international security at King's War College in London. So like he's into all this. He pays attention to signal intelligence. And he called me and he said, Dad, Israel is striking or about to strike Iran. And I can picture this scene because I'm at like the breakfast table in our house where I'm working on my computer on my path to citizenship commentary, and I have CNN on. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I'm not seeing anything on. It's happening, Dad. It's game on. 10 minutes later, now we're into the 8 o'clock hour. So that tells me what time it was. It's Anderson Cooper who goes to breaking news to report Israel has struck Iran. So, the next thing that happened of any significance, as we're now able to watch all of the reality this statement that comes from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear. Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. I thought that was remarkable. I thought that was remarkable. And maybe today there will be more statements of support from the Trump administration for Israel. It's what I anticipate. But that the first statement would be from the Secretary of State essentially saying to Iran, this is not our show. Like, we got nothing to do with this, and don't go responding to us or you're going to have a problem on your hands. I like Barak Ravid's coverage from Axios. That's what leads the Smerconish.com daily newsletter today. A piece of it. Israel launched a massive wave of attacks across Iran Thursday night, bombing nuclear and missile sites, targeting military leaders and nuclear scientists, and conducting covert sabotage operations on missile and air defense sites. Israel is directly attacking its biggest and best armed adversary without explicit backing from the U.S., which swiftly distanced itself from the operation. Iran has already launched more than 100 drones toward Israel in response. So the very basic facts are contained in that report. I pay close attention to David Sanger, who I mentioned a moment ago. Remember, we soft booked David Sanger. Looks now like we're going to need him. David Sanger writing in the New York Times today, talking about that which was the focus, the nuclear capability of Iran. Quote, when Prime Minister Netanyahu said Thursday evening that Israel had struck Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz, he was signaling the scope of his country's ambitions in the largest strike it has ever aimed at Iran. It sought to destroy the beating heart of the Iranian nuclear program. And then further along in the piece that was written by David Sanger, quote, one mystery still surrounding the attack is whether Israel made any attempt to hit the deepest, most protected facility among its sprawling nuclear complexes, the enrichment center called Fordo. It is on an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps base. It is deep within a mountain, nearly a half mile under the surface, and we don't know. Brett McGurk quoted as saying, if you don't get Fordo, you haven't eliminated their ability to produce weapons-grade material. So that's all the background. What do I think? I'm apprehensive. I am apprehensive. I believe there's probably much more to this that we don't know. You know, the U.S. keeping Israel at an arm's length. I mostly want to know, is that all with a wink and a nod? Did the United States want to have plausible deniability? Did Israel, out of respect for the U.S., go it alone and not drag us into it? Would Bibi really go against a Monday night phone call stated wish of President Trump? I mean, maybe he would, because he's vulnerable at home. He still has a criminal prosecution that he has to worry about, and he's got a very fragile coalition and constantly has to placate his far right flank. So maybe Netanyahu, in a move of self-preservation, politically speaking, and the preservation of Israel, decides he's going to take his shot, even if he doesn't have the United States support. And maybe he does have the United States support, because maybe this is all BS and a smokescreen. And maybe we told Israel, well, Marco's going to put out a statement and have some distance because we don't want to be directly involved with Iran. I support the U.S. friendship with Israel. I recognize the important role that Israel plays for the United States, and certainly the role the United States plays for Israel. I respect the friendship. But I got to tell you something. Sometimes friends have to have direct conversation and rein in, their closest of friends in a way that only friends can do, is what I'm trying to say. I better make this clear. 10-7, let me do what Liz McGill and the other Ivy League presidents didn't do in their congressional testimony, which is to state the obvious. 10/7 was a brutal and horrific attack, brutal and horrific and unprompted attack by Hamas against Israel. And Israel, with the full support of the United States, had every right to retaliate. Okay? I've said that, right? I blame Hamas. But the retaliation has gone on too long and too deep. In my opinion, there have been too many civilian casualties in Gaza and too many kids growing up without fathers now going to hate our kids, and their kids are going to hate our grandkids, and so it will go. I am for a two-state solution. I don't believe that Netanyahu is for a two-state solution. I mean, they just undertook the largest expansion in the West Bank. And I'm worried about the long-term prospect, primarily of the United States. Certainly Israel, our ally as well. But if you ever want to talk about an area for America first, I think it's here. And I worry that we're now going to be dragged into a wider confrontation. That Iran or some Islamic terrorist group, not the usual suspects, that one that we've never even heard of, is now going to target the U.S. and Israel. That's my concern. That is my concern. So mine is a no vote, with the caveat that we don't know everything. I mean, just give me slack if you're going to call me in 6 months and say, well, remember when you told us you had all that trepidation and apprehension about Israel striking Iran's nuclear capability? Just keep in mind, it's the morning after, and there's a lot that we still don't know. And at the top of the list of what we don't know, as I'm speaking in real time, is what will be the Iranian response. Because do you remember what happened in the spring of 2024? And it's hard for me to keep up all of the sort of tit for tat and the actions and reactions that have taken place. But my recollection is that there was an Iranian consular office in Damascus that was struck, and then the world held its breath for what would be. This was not the attack on Nasrallah. That came later. I'm thinking about that moment in time. I hope I'm not mixed up on this, but I think it was like a year ago in the spring when Israel launched an attack, and then the world held its breath for what would be the Iranian response. And my impression, and a lot of the military experts disagreed with me, is that it then became performance art. That Iran launched a response, several hundred missiles and drones, and the Iron Dome handled everything. And I thought at the time, Israel did what it needed to do, and Iran did what it needed to do to have a face-saving response, but not a response that was going to escalate the situation. And the biggest question that I have right now is whether we're about to see that again. I think Iran has, based on what I read, I think that Iran has a significant capability. That their military force is capable of striking Israel, and by extension or directly the United States interests in the Middle East. Are they going to do that? Or are they going to repeat the dance so that they can say that they responded, but at the same time, and probably through back channels, let it be known, hey, we don't want to go to the next level. We don't want to go to the next level. I pray that's the case. I pray that's the case, that this does not turn into something larger. But based on the facts as I know them right now, the American president, say what you will about him, asked Israel not to do something because there was a prospect on the horizon of a diplomatic solution, and Israel did it anyway. So no, don't like it. Don't like it. Don't want Iran to have a nuclear capability. I don't want Iran to have a nuclear capability, and I blame Hamas for the events of 10/7 and that which came thereafter. Did you hear that part? Okay, good. Now, go vote at smerconish.com. Do you favor or oppose Israel's attack against Iran? Do you favor or oppose Israel's attack against Iran? Like and subscribe. Set yourself up for notifications. Thank you, gang.